Hi, we're back. We get to do the Gouna International today. I'm actually really excited because it's been a pretty long 2 months. I am half vaccinated, so that's good. But I can't believe it's already been 2 months since the last tournament. Still no squash in Canada, or my parts of Canada. Still nothing really in terms of gyms. They are all shut down, so let's try to have some fun today. So we're going to go quickly into this. I'm trying to keep this a little shorter than my last one. I felt like that was, could have been improved on time. But anyway, we'll give it our best shot here. I actually think this will be. Let's go through the first round pretty quick. It's nothing too complicated this time around. Okay, women's draw. We'll start there. We'll just go through Noor Abu Makarim versus Frida Muhammad. So I believe Makarim should have been playing this year's World Junior Open, or last year's rather. She would have been probably one of the favorites along with, I'm drawing blanks here. But there were a couple of players I had thought of. Stefanoni from the US, that was the one. And then obviously Frida Muhammad. I don't know if she's an 18-year-old right now. But in any case, Frida Muhammad's very strong physically, just way beyond her years. So this should be a relatively easy 3-love. But, with younger players, there's definitely room for mistakes. But, yeah, I'm going to give her 3-love. Yatra Riddell, you get the bye. Hana Ramadan versus Nadine Shaheen. Shaheen, I looked up a couple of the head-to-heads on this one. Shaheen has it. Ramadan has never beaten her, I believe. And I don't see any of her previous results against other players making any influence on my mind. This is easily to Shaheen 3-love. Miriam Matwali versus Cindy Merlot. Cindy came into the tournament late. Again, not really any results there that would make me think that she can beat Miriam Matwali. So giving this a 3-0. Waters by Meyer Hani versus Anna Serm. Again, there's just a big gap. I guess a little bit aside, especially with squash, like you can't really compare it to tennis. In tennis, the top 100 in the world easily make enough money that they can train constantly, not have to have, say, like a second job. Whereas with squash, unless you're in the top 20, and I'm giving that a bit of a stretch, you're really not making enough money to really do this full time. For most players, I don't necessarily know how sponsorships always work. This year's probably been tough, but here I don't see this. The gap here is just way too big. This will be way too easy for Meyer Hani. I think Anna Serm's probably a good athlete. Don't get me wrong, but athletics isn't enough. You're good. It's an easy 3-love. Perry 3-love. Hania 3-love in the bye. Whoops. Kevika versus Emily Whitlock. Again, pretty big skill gap here. A lot of experience for Whitlock. So, easy 3-love. Nothing to talk about here. Nada Bass versus Nicole Bunyan. I think I saw the head-to-head on this, but in any case, Nada Bass is a little bit more experienced, and Nicole Bunyan doesn't have any results. Again, that would make me think that she has a shot in this match. Ahmed versus Alves. Alves, this one's probably a little closer. I'm actually just going to say 4, but Ahmed doesn't actually have many good results either. Alves played French Nationals, probably has a little bit more training under her belt. Nothing easy. Holly Naughton versus Hannah Momotaz. So, again, I looked at their recent. So Hamot has played some of the smaller tournaments that have happened recently. I believe that was the Egyptian Challenger Tour. So she's gone a lot of matches, but again, just at a much lower level than what Holly Naughton's used to. Holly's improved a lot. She beat Roano Robbie at the last tournament. So again, slam dunk, 3-love. Chinapa, Tina Gillis. Hey, you're getting buys now. Good for you. And Camille Salm. Okay, go to the other side of the draw. We have another buy. Daniel Turno, again, she's been training in Egypt now, so I don't know if she would have known this player. It's hard to say. Mena Nasser, again, nothing there that would make me want to go away from Daniel Turno. Woo, go Danielle. Lucy Termel versus Amelia Swaney. I'm really hoping Lucy Termel starts to get her maturity up a little bit. And when I say maturity, I don't necessarily mean like, she's like George Parker kind of maturity where you gotta stop screaming. More, I think she just needs to be more aggressive, take the ball on more, just have more confidence. I definitely see her winning this one, and we'll see where she goes in the rest of the tournament. Klein. Victor versus I'm going to brutalize this name, El Dafraoui. I actually don't know this one very well. I don't believe they've played each other. I haven't seen many results from Habiba, but she is younger, so it could be a bit of a surprise. But just, I'm not going to get bitten by this. If you don't have a lot of tour experience and you're not one of the more obvious, phenom players, I don't care. I'm going to give it to the more experienced players. So Olivia Victor will take this one, probably 4 games. Hillis. Alexandra Fuller versus Nadia Pfister. Pfister coming into the tournament late because of the withdrawals. As another aside, that's why I'm waiting so late to do this video, because I have no clue who's going to actually be playing this tournament. I'm still not, I'm doing this Tuesday night. The games start tomorrow. All likelihood, no more withdrawals, but I just would not be shocked at this point. I think the whole reasoning was because not so much that you have to quarantine in Egypt, but then say you went back to England, you have to quarantine for 14 days and pay for like a hotel. Or at least that's what they do in Canada. So I'm not sure where I know Daniel Letourneau lives in Egypt right now, so she's probably okay, but I don't necessarily know about the Nicole Bunyan and Holly Naughton, so I don't know what they have to do when they have to quarantine back in wherever they're coming back to. So anyway, Fuller has the 4-0 advantage here. Don't see why this would change. Bye. Joelle King, bye. Jana Shiha versus Colleen Omar. So I was really hoping Jana Shiha would show a bit more strength, kind of what she had shown in juniors. So one thing I would definitely say, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but with these tournaments not having any coaching, the younger players, I think, will struggle more than your older players. They kind of know, the steps they need to recheck their focus. If there's any tactical errors, they can identify it a bit faster. With younger players, they usually need that little bit of extra coaching, just the beginning, and then after a few years, fine, they'll pick it up. But I wonder if that's kind of what happened with Shiha and actually Muhammad at the last tournament, where I don't think they played particularly well. Coming into this, so Shiha would have gotten a couple more matches, probably played the Challenger Tour. I don't think she played Egyptian Nationals, but very few Egyptians actually did. So I will give this to Colleen Omar. I don't think that this will be a easy match, but I think Colleen is going to be just solid enough. So I'm going to give it to her in, let's just say 5, just to have some fun. There's got to be a 5-gamer in this part of the draw, or in this first round. Enor Villar versus Helly Mendes. I have to go back and look. I don't know too much about either player. I have seen Helly. Enora lost to Hania Al-Hamami, so it wasn't obvious where her strengths and weaknesses are. I think this will be close. I'll give it to Helly Mendes. I know her a little bit better, so it's not going to make a huge deal going past this round. Helly does have just a solid game. This could be a very big retrieving-based match, so let's just call it a 5-gamer as well. Tessa Evans, welcome back. Sani Ibrahim versus Sivasangari Subramaniam. So I don't know how much game actions Subramaniam's had, but she's a very good aggressive player, very deceptive, finishes the ball so extremely well. Sani Ibrahim actually did have a half-decent tournament. I'm trying to remember who she beat. She had a pretty decent upset in the last event. Should I look this up? Screw it. I'm just going to assume it was decent. In any case, I'm not going to fret over this too much. I'm still taking Subramaniam in 3. Solid player. Zaina Makawi versus Tessa Teslui. Again, Tessa coming into the tournament late. I'm not a huge fan of Zaina Makawi, but I think she's a little slow and she needs to really improve her fitness, but I don't see a player like Tessa just being that accurate enough to really expose that physical weakness. So give it to her in 3, and then Gohar with the bye. Alright, now we get into some interesting matches. Hopefully interesting. Shirbini versus Muhammad. Pretty much, again, coming back to the lack of coaching, I think Shirbini has, a good game against Farida, and Farida's going to be caught off guard, depending on how much they played against each other. Obviously, I don't know that, but Shirbini holds, and for a big player, it's really tough when you're constantly checking your movement at the tee before committing, and Shirbini's gotten a lot better at just punching it back accurately. She's just the best in the world at that, between men and women even, you could argue. But in any case, I don't really see this being as an easy match. Oh, seems like I can't put in Nor for whatever reason. Oh, technical difficulties, have to edit it out. Anyway, I'll put in Nor here. And hopefully that doesn't cause a problem with this sheet. There we go. Oh. Alrighty, so that does mean that there is an error. But easy enough. We'll just have to do a copy and paste. Call it a day. Hopefully this one will work. Huh? It won't. So for some reason this one part of the draw is just has an error on it. Anyway, we'll make it through. Yasser Badel versus Nadine Shaheen. So this was a bit of a messy match the last time we played. Actually, was it the last tournament? Nothing really, to me, changes. I think Shaheen's just going to be the more physical of the two. Adele makes a lot of mistakes. She's a very good finisher when she wants to be. I just feel that she gets either impatient, goes for too much, or doesn't seem to be very interested in the matches at times, just for periods. I think Shaheen has the advantage here. If you just stay solid, then I think that's enough to take out Adele. So I'll go with Shaheen. Okay, Metwali versus Waters. I think Metwali isn't too bad. She's had some injuries. She's a good player on her day, but Alison Waters is too experienced. Metwali has beaten Waters, mind you, so I'm not completely just discounting her, but there's no way. I don't see Waters making enough errors to let Metwali into the game. It's just going to be a frustrating match for Metwali, so I'll give it to Waters in 4. Hattie versus Perry. We saw this last time. It's Sarah Jane Perry didn't even really have to do anything fancy. Pretty much just played up and down squash or just to the back squash and countered very nicely. So Hattie does have good finishing, but nothing much here. Homa Mami versus Emily Whitlock. Emily Whitlock's had some good victories. She's beaten Sobi, for example. She's had some decent form in the past. It's just not consistent enough. I'm assuming Helha Mami's performance in the last tournament was a one-off, not going to happen again. She played badly. I still think that something was messing with her mind. We don't know. We can't be sure, but I don't see that happening 2 tournaments in a row. I think Helha Mami comes back in this fully focused. She's going to kick some ass here. Let's go with her in 3, and I can't because life. So we'll just go the old copy-paste. Okay, Abbas versus Alves. Abbas is good. Now, where I do worry about this is she still has some consistency issues. If I'm coaching Alves into this, I just say stay solid. Just, go short when you have the opportunity to put pressure on Abbas, and then just keep punching back, and then go short. She's a shorter player. She's quick, Abbas, but, you can let her try to make mistakes. Now, that said, I'm still going to give it to Abbas. I think she has skill. She is 2021 in that range. I want to see if she's building. She had building some maturity. I think she had a lot of potential a few years ago when she was just kind of coming as an early junior. But she hasn't shown me a lot that would make me think, okay, yeah, she's going to push ahead. So I'll give it to Abbas, but I'm not confident on this. So please tell me this will work. Nope, guess not. I'll probably have to fix that later. Anyhow, Holly Naughton versus Joshna Chinapa. Joshna's when I say solid in this scenario, what I mean is she doesn't hit stupid shots. I really think that all her shots are fairly safe. She doesn't hit a lot of tricky boasts, and as soon as the ball's loose, she's a criminally underappreciated finisher of the ball, but only when it's loose. That's part of the problem. She has good hold, but to get to that point is difficult. Holly Naughton, again, very, very typical down the line, good physical athlete, but against a player that really can, just can punish you every time you hit a loose ball. I don't see Holly Naughton, she needs to play against someone who's a bit more proactive than Joshna is in order to get success. I see her more as a counterpuncher. And again, experience wins out a lot in a lot of these scenarios. So I'm going to go with Joshna here. Tina Gillis versus Camille Serm. Tina Gillis, she's a great athlete just like her sister, but, what am I going to say? That Tina has better shots than Camille, better physicality, more accuracy. I don't know what she has that Camille Serm doesn't. She can grind away, but Camille Serm's just better at that, so this should be a relatively straightforward 3-love. I'm trying to be fast. All right, Amanda Sobey versus Daniela Letourneau. Amanda's been on awesome form. Her physicality's just gotten so much better. She can retrieve more. She can last in matches far more. Down just doesn't have any shots that can really trouble Amanda Sobey. And similar to what I was kind of saying with Lucy Termel, I find that Danielle just doesn't really push and go for the volley enough and doesn't really have a good aggressive or a consistent aggressive nature to her, whereas Sobey just kills everything. So hey, let's just go an easy 3-love there. Lucy Termel versus Olivia Klein. This will be one of the more tough. This is one of the first matches where I'm having a lot of difficulty in my mind seeing who's going to win this. Termel's probably had a lot more match time or with higher end players in England than Olivia Klein has, although I think she does go, since she's with Lobbit, the other Scottish player, with Alan Klein. Haha, obvious. I don't know how much more action she'll get. On paper, I would say Olivia Klein has the experience, but even in the last tournament when she played against in her quarterfinal match, I just found that she's almost like she gave up. She didn't really have any answers, and so I think Termel should really take advantage of this, play aggressively, increase the pace, and just kind of force Olivia to come up with an answer. Tough match. I think Olivia's still an excellent finisher, good volleyer, so I'm having a little bit of it's going to mix. I don't feel like this will be a 3-2 though, so it's a little weird. It'll be close, but I don't think it'll be a 3-2. I'll give it to Termel in 4, but yeah, it's just in my mind that I don't. If Termel is going to win, I think she's going to win a little bit quicker and basically stamp out Olivia Klein a little bit faster than a 5-gamer. Olivia Victor versus Nelly Hillis. Still can't get that pronunciation. Gillis is just, again, a better athlete. Olivia Victor doesn't have the shots to really trouble Nelly a lot, so I'm giving this as a fairly easy 3-love. Nelly's just not gonna make errors, and Olivia's gonna need something out of some sort of crack out of Hillis, but again, she doesn't have the selection of shots to do it. Fuller versus Hattie. Easy one, Hattie. I was trying to draw Hattie's name when I was talking about Olivia Klein, but she, again, a much bigger improvement to her fitness and her form, much better at not going for cheap boasts and trying to go for finishers. She was doing a lot better at holding and punching straight and just adding another option to extend her opponent. So I think this is a fairly easy 3-love. Joelle King versus Colleen Omar. Way too solid. Joelle King is... Joelle, again, kind of similar to what we're talking about with Camille Serm. There's just nothing that Colleen has. Maybe I would sometimes question Joelle's physicality, but only in the cases where there's a player that can really twist her. Colleen Omar doesn't have those late deceptive shots or that really nice hold and boast or anything like that can really disrupt Joelle King's movement. So 3-love there. Roano Robbie versus Helly Mendes. Too much skill from Roan. I'm trying to remember at Egyptian Nationals reading that Rowan did have a bad loss, but I'm trying to remember to whom did she lose? Yeah. I'm going to still assume she's coming back. Mentally, she's a little bit of a fragile player, which is weird because you think as a 3-time world junior finalist and 2-time winner, you would be a pretty strong mental athlete, but hasn't happened. Who did she lose to? Anyway, whatever. We'll just keep on moving on. Tesni Evans versus Sivasangari Subramaniam. So this stuff, I don't necessarily know how healthy Evans is. I think she had an ankle or foot issue, but I honestly don't recall. First tournament back, and she has played in England, so I did see her in a few of her matches. I think one of her matches against Joel King. So she did win. So she's in good form. I think she's not. She's. I don't think the injury is affecting her too much. Sivasangari, it's tough in a weird way that she does have a game similar to, say, like Ataya, where she can hold the ball, punch it. I don't know how consistent that is. This is tough. I'm going to give it Sivasangari Subramaniam. Keep it away from her back end. If you do that, you'll win. If you don't, you'll lose. So I'm going to say she will do that, and I'll give it to her in 5, so I don't have to copy and paste. Zaina Makawi versus Noran Gohar. Gohar's on a mission. She played her first round really well until she got kicked out of the tournament last time. There's nothing here to really talk about. It's an easy 3-love. Okay, we'll go into the third round. Shirbini versus Shaheen. Literally Shaheen's worst matchup. Shaheen has I don't know why, but she has the worst time pivoting and changing her momentum. And I find that she overextends herself. She uses a lot of energy early on. So if Shirbini just decides to, play around, hit to the back a bit more, she can gas Shaheen fairly quickly, and the match will be over. This will probably be a sub 25-minute match. Waters versus Perry, pretty easy to parry. I assume that they both know I think Waters actually used to have the advantage over Perry. Perry's just too good, too accurate. She's deceptively physically strong. She can really get into the front where you don't think she will. I don't see Waters having enough shots, having enough stamina at 38. I mean, she is a great athlete. I should give her that, but there's not really many shots that Waters has that will really trouble Perry, and Perry's just too proactive. So I think this will be a 3-1 still. I think Waters can get a game, but she won't be able to overcome that, the relentless attack of Perry. Hamami versus Abbas. Don't necessarily know this matchup. I don't know if they've played before, but I think Hamami's just so good at stretching a player like Abbas out. Again, not too tall. It's going to be really physical for her. She's going to be scurrying everywhere. I don't think she'll have the gas to keep up in this match. 3-love. Chinapa versus Serm. Again, so with Chinapa, she's good, but she needs loose shots in order to finish the ball. And because Serm's such a great retriever, it really puts you under a mental, a mental state of just constant fear, where even if you have a loose ball, you know that if you don't finish it, you can easily just be on the back end for the remainder of a rally. So I don't see Chinapa really coming through this match in any way. So that's another fairly straightforward 3-love. All right, Sobi versus Termel. Again, Sobi has too many weapons. Termel's just going to be blown away on this one. I feel like Termel will want to go to the back a lot, try to contain Sobi, and try to force loose shots out of her, but unless you're ridiculously tight all the time, Sobi's going to get on the volley. She's going to put way too much pressure on Termel. Termel doesn't really have a hold that can change the movement of Sobi, so nope, 3-love. Pretty straightforward. But this will be a good result for Termel, just getting to this stage of the event. Hillis versus Hattie. This is a rematch from the last tournament. I saw Hillis doesn't really have any. She doesn't have too many attacking shots. She's a great retriever, but Hattie just was finishing. She was holding the ball. That introduction of a shot that pushes your opponent to the back when they think you're going to the front is huge. very few players outside of, say, like Joel Macon and Paul Cole can consistently retrieve that without, and still absorb and attack off of those shots. Even that, in that case, I'm just making it, really, I'm just trying to come up with a couple players. It's a great strategy if you can do it, and I think Hattie can execute on this now, so I'm going to give it to Hattie. Could be 4 games, but you know what, I'm going to give it to her 3. I think and they just played more recently, so there should be a lot of confidence going to that. Robbie versus King. Robbie has beaten King. She is a very good retriever. She does play quite patiently, so this might be... but she also has great attacking shots. So Robbie has a great cross-court kill. And she has beaten Joel King. I feel like Joel will want revenge in this match, so I don't want to put too much on that last match between them and saying, hey, Robbie has Joel King here. But it is a lot closer. And again, I still trying to remember who Robbie lost to at Egyptian Nationals, because it wasn't a very high overranked player. But in fact, who was in the final there? I think it was whoever made the final, and I think, and I know Gohar won it, so I don't recall too well. But again, just based on form and again, experience, I think Joelle will be better prepared for this match, so I'm going to give it to her in, I'll say 4. This will be, but not in 5. If this goes 5, this is to, Robbie will take this. Joel King, I don't think she'll be able to make it through a 5-gamer with Robbie, so it has to be a 4-gamer. Sivasangari Subramaniam versus Noran Gohar. I don't see... Gohar is just... She's going to be on a mission here. She's going to want to win this tournament very badly. She basically got knocked out of the second round of the last tournament, so she doesn't want to, get out. She wants to come out with this as a finalist at the very minimum. So in this case, I'm trying to think of what Subramaniam has. Her movement isn't bad, but it can be... I don't think many players in the women's game are able to deal with that constant kill shot to the back. That pace is just unrelenting, and I think Subramaniam will have moments where she just becomes a little impatient, tries to go for the short shot, and that's what Gohar loves. As soon as you try for something, she knows as long as it's not perfect, then she can get to the ball and just punish and just increase the pace. So I'm trying to think if Subramaniam has a chance to get a game in this. You know what? No, I don't see it. No. 3-love. Gohar. We're doing it. Okay. Alright, quarterfinals. Shirbini versus Sarah Jane Perry, a quarterfinal rematch from Blackball. I'd have to think if there's anything Perry has. So I've kind of spoken to how Shirbini now is punching back to the back a lot more. So she'll play a back and front game where she can hold on the backhand. Does it on the forehand too a little bit, but especially on the backhand side. I think Perry needs to have a very good cross-court in this match, and it's a very risky tactic because you want to also move Shirbini to the front. So if Sarah Jane Perry's front game is on, there's a good chance there that she can make headway in this match, but that also requires Shirbini to be hitting loose. I just thought with the way that Shirbini played in the last tournament, she's my favorite for this one, and so I'm just going to give it to her. But not, I think same. Well, let's go with same score as what she did last time. I think she'll be it'll be a 4-gamer, but Sarah Jane Perry won't be able to retrieve enough shots. Oh man, Hamami versus Serm. Let's just go 5 games. This is just be a slogger. They're both very similar, both super physical. Serm doesn't have the finishing. I'm trying to see in this tournament. So at this point in the event, neither player will have really expended themselves that much. So Hamami has the advantage here, but I'm just going to go 5 games to her. She has won most of their recent matches. They know each other's game pretty well, so there's nothing... I'm not anticipating any changes from Serm that can actually disrupt Hanya's game. So that one's good. Hattie versus Sobi, another rematch from the last tournament. Sobi's just too strong physically here. Where where I found that Hattie was getting trouble, she actually had some, like the game she won in the last tournament, she was very patient and she was going to back more. If Hindi tells her, hey, you have got to be a bit more patient, go to the back more, hold it, and then go for a few front shots, you can make Sobi, you can get a couple games out, so she could win. I don't know if she has that level of patience. She was more patient in the last event. This is going to be another level. Plus, she has to deal with the fact that if her length isn't perfectly accurate, Sobi's going to punish her, and she has to constantly go to the front. I don't think Hattie has that much just enough physicality to get over that hump. I'm going to give it to Sobi in 4. Yeah. All right. So we got that one in the books. Joel King versus Gohar. Yeah. Joel King got to I think, was she in the semis of the 2020 Black Ball in December? So that one was, I'm trying to remember what that came off of. Anyway, all I remember was because of Gohar's early exit, that gave, oh yeah, so never mind. I remember what happened. So I'm talking, so in the Black Ball Open in 2020, Gohar was basically just completely gassed. She had that 5-gamer against Farida Muhammad. She wasn't also 100% healthy, I think, with her ankle, but or was it her ankle or knee? Anyway, she wasn't 100%. I'm assuming Gohar is going to come into this at better health. Joel King's just cannot handle this pace. It's and especially after having played Roano, I think at this point in the tournament, fatigue might be a factor. So, well, for King at least. So I'm going to give it to Gohar. I'm going to give this another 3 love. I'm not gonna stray away. All right, so we got Shirbini versus El Hamami. So this will be that. I don't think they would have played since 2020 Black Ball in March when Hamami won in 5. I think that this will be the revenge match that Shirbini needs. As long as Shirbini is a bit more patient and just focuses on the punch back, Hamami will be able to retreat. So this is kind of the interesting tension in the match. So I'm saying, okay, Shirbini, punches to the back. Great. You're going to hold and force your opponent to come to the tee and constantly go back. Hamami has the physicality. And yes, I know she'll have a brutal 5-gamer with Serm, and that might be a factor, but she's also young enough that I think that she'll be able to overcome that part of it, the fatigue factor. Where it's going to get interesting is, can Shirbini be accurate enough in the front and also have the follow-up shots? So what I'm expecting is a few to the back, and then the odd case Shirbini goes to the front. Hamami will get to the ball, but the subsequent shot Shirbini needs to be able to finish. So it depends a lot on how Hamami's front game is going to be, because she'll have a few opportunities to counter drop. She'll probably be lobbing a bit more. So if Shirbini's front game is she's finishing it off or just making it so that this, again, it's an easy finishing shot after the front attack, I think this is hers. I see that as her path to victory here, so I'm going to give this to her, but it'll be tight. Let's say 4 games. This could be a 5-gamer and Shirbini will win it. At this stage of tournaments, you really get those tight ones. Actually, I'll give it to her in 5. I think 5 games is... I want to see some excitement here, so I'm just going to call it that way. Gohar versus Sobi. This has actually been traditionally a tough matchup for Gohar to some extent. Not, they've gone back and forth on this. I think the last time they played at the Windy City Open in 2020, Gohar won, and it gets a little bitty. There's a bit of interference here. There'll be a little bit of anger in this match, believe me. Gohar, again, she's gotten so much better at the front. And she can actually, in her movement, so much better in the last few years. Sobi's is also a lot better. The only thing I'd say is she going to have... So with Sobi, she's going to really have to be on point with her finishing and her volleying. If she can really hold Gohar and just get her movement off base, because Gohar, if you do get her to the back where she's on the back foot, she often does boast. That would be Sobi's chance to finish the ball. And if her finishing is on, off of those shots, yes, she can win this. But she has to finish it. I think in these cases, she won't get too many second opportunities, unlike the Shirbini match. So I'm gonna go with Gohar on this. But this is also one of the harder ones to call in this tournament. But I'll say this one's going to be in 4. Shirbini versus Gohar. Shirbini is able to vary the pace of her shot so much. What that does for a player like Gohar, and Shirbini is very unique in this. Lily does it too, and to an extent Taya, but amongst current players, Shirbini is probably the absolute best at this, where even off of a hard drive from Gohar, she can hold it a little bit, change the pace, and because of that really screws up Gohar's timing, and it really makes her shots, her kind of that straight hard kill, that straight hard line drive, just a little less effective, or where she can't get behind the ball as quickly or set up as well. And I find that in this match, that's where Gohar ends up running a little bit, hits a bit looser, and that's just where Shirbini has traditionally been able to pick her off. That said, Gohar does have, she has good front game. She can retrieve for a while. She is a great athlete. This will be I'm going to say this is a 5-gamer. I'm going to give it to Shirbini. Again, a lot of that just comes down to Shirbini being able to basically implicate a lot more physicality into Gohar. Now, the only thing I'd say, though, and where I might be eating crow, is looking at the draws. So Sarah Jane Perry, Hamami. With Gohar, it's going to be Sobi and King. Gohar will have had the easier path to the final, so her physicality is going to be there. So when I say it's a 5-gamer, now I'm kind of thinking to myself, well, if it gets to 5, Shirbini could be gassed from her last 2 matches. She typically, this is why she usually wins so many turns, because she wins her early matches so fast. And even, I'm saying against Perry, it might be a little bit more physical. That's something to watch out for. I think she will get through her other matches efficiently enough that it shouldn't be a problem. But if this turns out to be a 5-gamer, if this turns out to be a slog, this is where I could see Gohar coming in, and as long as she stays consistent and doesn't go for too many kills where or flirting with the tin, so to speak, that can be her match to take. So I'm not sure, but this is I still give it to Shirbini. It's easy, go with the number 1 seed, but it's a unique path to the final. So anyway, now we get to go to the men's half. All right, start. So go with we'll talk about Shirbagi after. Let's just get through that the fun first round. Parker versus Harity. Parker's just way too good of an attacking player. Probably a 3 love. Although Harity's not bad. I mean, I'm not trying to dismiss Harity. He can make this a match. I don't know how much he's been playing lately. I know he won in India. And actually, he did have a good win against El Surdi, and El Hamami. So, gotta maybe bite my. Okay, I'm gonna still give it to Parker, but this will be a 4-gamer. Lopez versus. Oh, did I have this right? Oh, I made a boo-boo. Sorry, I had to change some of these draws after they had gone and done some differences to players. So I got to see who actually has the bye, because I think Parker would have had the bye here, wouldn't he have? All right. Well, my internet's being a little dumb, so I get to go psaworldtour.com. All right. So, and actually, I should check this too. I haven't actually checked since noon if there's any additional withdrawals. All right, good. No one else is out of the tournament yet. So, anyway, Gouna, main draw, and I do apologize for this. All right, yeah, sorry, I had this wrong. This should have been Baptiste Mazzotti. Silly me. So actually, it's funny enough, I think Edmund Lopez actually has games against, or has won against Masadi in the past. I think he has a 2-1 advantage. I don't know how familiar these are with, how each player knows each other's game in this. I'm going to go with Masadi. I've seen him. He's a good finisher, but I don't know too much about Edmund Lopez, so I'm going kind of on my gut. But let's just say 3-love. Yusuf Ibrahim versus Roger Badour. Roger Badour isn't even, he's 18. He's not even really like a high-end junior. I don't think he would have been actually the top Egyptian if he was playing this year's, or when he does play this year's Egyptian, the World Juniors. So I see Yusuf Ibrahim taking this pretty easily. Does this work? Yes. All right. So I have to figure that out for the women's side. Anyway, Cardenas versus Yao. Pretty easy to Yao. Solid. Walter gets a bye. Macon gets a bye. Gauthier versus Lake. Lake's good. He's, he'll go up and down the wall pretty solid. He's, I think a very typical English game, but I don't see Gauthier really faltering in this case. There's not enough. Lake is pretty good physically, so you got to consider that. But I don't see him being able to finish the ball enough to really disrupt Gauthier. I know Gauthier is 38. I don't think he has quite the same game as he used to, but Gauthier is still a great finisher of the ball. Still has very good endurance overall against most players. So I'm going to give this to Gauthier in 3. James versus Rooney. This is tough. This is actually a really good first round match because Rooney's been playing really well. I don't know in terms of. I tried to look up their head-to-heads. I think it was 1-1, or maybe they hadn't played. I'm assuming they know a little bit about each other's games. They both played in the British leagues, some of the exhibitions they had. So I'm going to give it to James. I'm trying to think of it more or less. I think they're both tall. They both probably play a similar game, except James is a bit better at finishing, and that's going to be very important because this could easily be a 5-gamer. So I'm going to give it in James in 5. Dimitri Steinman versus Boria Golan. Way too much experience. Dimitri Steinman he has not had the victories over any major player that would make me think that wouldn't go to Bora. Sorav Asal. Oops. Al Bugar. Marwan. Oh, that was easy for that. It's half. Cool. Okay, another junior, or actually is Ainen a junior? I can't even remember. I saw no real results of any sort of that would make me think that he would have a chance against Yusuf Solomon. Solomon's improved his game quite substantially. Very physical player. There's nothing that I'm not saying I've ever seen Ali Abu Ainen, but I don't feel like I need to. Alan Klein versus Khan. Shahjahan Khan isn't bad. Just really low consistency. Doesn't really finish the ball particularly well. Isn't particularly accurate. I just see Alan Klein kind of holding and punching Shahjahan Khan too much, and just I don't know what weapons Shahjahan Khan has that can overcome a player of Klein's level. Auguste Dussault versus Victor Klein. All right, France versus France. Victor Klein. I was disappointed by his performance against Gauthier. I think the problem with Klein is he is way too predictable, not enough holds. He plays very straight and tight, but if you know where the ball is going, a player like Gauthier just was able to pick him off very easily because he knows he's so good with his racket. He can hit back those tight balls if he knows where it's going to be. Victor Klein wasn't really varying the height. I hope he learned from that coming out of that match with Gauthier. I don't see any way Dussault wins. This is just going to be kind of Victor Klein's to take pretty easily, so I'll give it to him in 3. El Tamimi versus El Hamami. El Tamimi has I don't know if they played very recently, but Tamimi does have the head-to-head in this one. I think he's never lost to El Hamami, and El Tamimi he can go a little headless at times. El Hamami has gotten better in recent years with just being more patient, and I think his physical strength is a little bit better, but I don't really see Tamimi having too much trouble with Hamami, just because I don't know if Hamami can finish the ball enough Tamimi's too fast, and again, if you're not accurate enough, Tamimi can increase the pace quite a bit and just put you under a lot of pressure. Okay, Salem. Another late entry with Bon Mallet. El Shirbini's a solid player. I think there's just too much of a skill gap here, so give it to Shirbini. Gouad gets a bye. Rodriguez, bye. Marsh, bye. Kandra versus Maheshman. Forgot the G. Not that it matters, but I want to be somewhat respectful. Raphael Kandra versus Mahesh. I have to go back and see. I think Raphael Kandra has a head-to-head with him, but it wouldn't be more than a couple matches. And I think it was a few years ago. So I'm going to give it to Raphael. I think this will probably be a 4-gamer, but nothing too complicated here. Same. Lucas Serm, too physical for Vikram Malhotra. Mazen. Yep, Mazen Gamal against Nicholas Mueller. Mueller's just not so much that he's too experienced, because Gamal is experienced, but Gamal doesn't really have any results that would make me think that Mueller should have any trouble in this, so 3-love. By the way, most of these, unless I'm saying something else, are 3-loves, so I apologize, I haven't been consistent about saying that. Bernabo versus Bernat Jom. This was interesting because I actually looked this up. Bernat Jom, I don't know too much about him, but he actually has the upper hand on the heads-to-heads. Nothing too recent. I think it was a few years ago. Bernabo has improved his game. I don't know how much Jom has been doing, and I'm probably brutalizing the name, so I apologize. As another aside, I don't know why they have to do this, but this, the Spain versus Spain, the France versus France, it feels like they're keeping certain groups of players away from each other in this draw. I don't know why you would have to do that for any safety reason, or I don't know, but it seems I don't like the idea of this being as fixed as it appears, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I'll give it to Bernabo. Again, this is just based on more experience at higher level tournaments than the other player. Momin by. Alright, let's get to this home stretch, shall we? Alright, second round. Shirbagi versus Lobin. Shirbagi has... Oh no, that's too bad. Shirbagi has too many weapons. This guy just can play at any pace. Greg Lobin just doesn't have an answer that I could think of for Shirbagi. They might have played together, both being in England, but that probably just gives more advantage to Shirbagi than it does to Lobin. So I'll give that to 3-love, or give that to him in 3-love. This will be a physical match between Parker and Masadi. Both players can get pretty hot-headed, so we'll see how the interference works out. The let calls could play a big factor here, just with both players, their mentality. So I'm going to give it to Parker. I just think that basically it's going to come down to his length and his superior accuracy going to the back. Masadi's going to try to go for a lot. I think Parker can tire him out, because Masadi does tend to try to be very aggressive on the volley, but Parker's very accurate with his length, so I'm going to give it to Parker. Yusuf Ibrahim versus Yin versus Yao Tough. I think Yin Yao has some pretty good weapons. He has a good backhand. I don't know if he's used to playing a lefty and someone with Ibrahim's particular skill set. Not easy. This will be a 4. So I'm coming into this with a couple assumptions. Ibrahim's knee injury that he had before, it looked like it was affecting him a little bit. Yao's also he's a pretty good player in terms of clearance, and he doesn't get into the rough stuff much. So Ibrahim's mental weaknesses, I think, won't be exposed here, so I'm going to give this to Ibrahim in 4. Waller versus Macon. Waller just... besides just physicality, I think Macon's just going to dominate Waller. Waller's a good attacker and a pretty good finisher of the ball. The problem is that, Macon's going to be able to retrieve enough of those attack shots that Waller's just going to get frustrated. He's one of those players that had a lot of potential to me, but just couldn't get his mind, just internalizes way too much and gets frustrated with his game. So anyway, 3-love to Macon, shouldn't be too complicated. Dasuki versus Gauthier. So Dasuki has had a victory over Gauthier before Gauthier was injured, and on top of that, I think Ferris is going to just up the pace a lot. Gauthier can play a game where the game you want to play against Dasuki is anytime he tries to attack, just take the pace out and then straight to the back. Take the pace out, straight to the back. Gauthier can do that. So this isn't just completely straightforward easy. But the problem is that as soon as he doesn't do that, or if he loses a bit of accuracy, Dasuki's going to try his absolute best to increase the pace again. And I don't know if Gauthier's has that quick step speed that he used to enough that he's going to be able to retrieve all of Dasuki's shots. I really hope Dasuki... He had a bad last match against Marwan in the last tournament. I'm really hoping that he's kind of learned from that and is able to, kind of just come into this with a lot of confidence. If Gauthier takes the first game, I can see Gauthier winning this match just because of that. Just mentally, Gauthier is a great front runner, and Dasuki's not usually as good as a behind. Nowadays, he's a bit better. Last 2 tournaments, he's better at it. But I could that's a path Gauthier can win. This is going to be one of the better second round matches, but I'm still going to give it to Dasuki in, I'll say 4. Like, he'll be up 2-0, maybe give up a game, but that's it. Declan James versus Bora Golan. Oddly enough, Bora Golan, actually, I believe he has the head-to-head advantage, but they haven't played in several years, so Bora just doesn't have the physicality to match James, and James has gotten better again at finishing, and Golan can twist it, does have a decent boast, has a good backhand hold, but I don't think James is going to give him enough at the front to make that an effective strategy, so I'm going to give it to James in 4. Gosal versus Asal. Asal is just a tank, holds the ball, plays so aggressively. I think Gosal is just going to try to keep going to the back too much, but Mustafa Asal has arguably the best backhand length in the game. That's not something you want to do. He'll eat into a lot of Gosal might end up playing into a lot of Asal's strengths, and I don't think that's a recipe for success, so I'm going to give it to Asal in 3. Marwan versus Muhammad Al Bugar. God, I really don't. I feel so bad for Al Bugar. He has had some of the worst matchups. Like, he's had to play Farag a couple times in early rounds. He had to play, I know, Asal back in Tournament Champions in 2020. I feel like Al Bugar's had a lot of bad luck. He had that match against Macon where he played pretty badly, so I definitely don't give him credit there. But it's really tough for him to get back into the higher ranks while having to play some of the toughest opponents early round. This matchup has been going on since 92-93 when Shirbini won both his junior titles over Al Bugar. El Shirbagi's the man right now, so give it to him in 3. Mosey over to the other side. So with Paul Cole, you'll see. I'll kind of discuss this as we go on, but Paul Cole, if he's going to win a tournament, this is it. We're going to see, but he has the easiest draw he has ever had in a tournament here. He won't have to face Ali Farag, who's not in the tournament, so that bogeyman isn't here. Asal's on the other side of the draw, so is Shirbini. So I'm actually, again, not to sneak preview, Paul Cole's going to go deep. Now, he's got to take advantage of the tournament. I think from when I was looking, there are 2 big banana peel matches. This might be one of them. First match after a few months, not really having true competitive matches. Yusuf Solomon is a good player. I think that he's just Yusuf Salem doesn't quite have the patience to match Cole. I still think, in my mind, Cole will take this in 4. But if Yusuf goes into this with, if he can improve his patience, sure, he might take this, but probably not. I really think Paul Cole here has a great path to the title in this tournament. So, hint, hint, he might be my favorite, but we'll see. All right, Alan Klein versus Victor Crouin. Alan Klein doesn't have any. Crouin's physically the better player. Victor Crouin just will not give any sort of cheap shots to the backhand that Alan Klein usually likes to feast on. Victor Crouin's a great finisher. Volley drop into either corner is a favorite shot of his, and he plays it so accurately that I don't think Klein has a chance. So I'm going to give this to Crouin in 3. El Tamimi versus Zahid Salem. This is where Zahid Salem's strength, his volleying, and just his improved patience should make for what would on paper be actually a little bit more difficult. I think at the past, say 3 years ago, this could have been a 5-4 gamer, 50, 60 plus minutes. I really think Salem's going to take this and take it pretty cleanly. I'm going to give it to him in 3 actually. Okay, so Gawad. I know Joey had talked about a fat on the foot issue, it's like a fat or a foot pad issue that Gawad has, and he was almost describing it as something that really you can't get over, or that's not very easy to heal. Gawad didn't play nationals, and so I'm personally very suspicious. I'm going to go into this with the assumption that he can play, he'll be able to move around, but he's going to be somewhat limited. Now, in that case, Shirbini might be an actual tough match. I think this will be a 4-gamer. Gawad will take the first. Gawad just has, his skills are way up there, so I don't see Muhammad Al Shirbini really being able to attack Gawad, especially because Gawad has a great hold on the volley and a great hold from the back. That's going to just and Shirbini doesn't volley too well, so I just feel that Gawad has enough tools, even with maybe reduced physicality, to take this. But if that issue is a real problem and something that's not going away, you'll see it in this match, and that might be where Shirbini wins just off injury. But I do worry a little bit about Gawad. Okay, Rodriguez versus Marsh. This is the same. This is, again, we have another exact same match from the last tournament. Marsh was so mature, just finished great, just hit perfect shots to the back, just didn't give Rodriguez anything. I don't see any difference in this. Rodriguez is, how many more tools can he pull out? I don't know, and I don't think there will be one. So I'm going to give this to Marsh in 4. Kandra versus Serm. Kandra actually has the advantage here as well in terms of heads-to-heads. They haven't played I think, since 2014, so it might not apply. The only thing I'd say, though, is I don't feel Serm's game or Kandra's game. Kandra's game has improved a little. I don't see Serm's game having really improved a whole lot since that time. It sounds kind of weird, 7 years is a long time, but I don't know. I don't really see Serm being too different. He's still pretty weak on the volley. In terms of volley drops, he doesn't finish too well. He's just he's just such a pure grinder. Kandra can grind too. I think physically he's probably lost a step. So that could be a definite in for Serm, but I'm just going to give it to Kandra. They're both the same age. Kandra finishes, he attacks. So I'm going to give it to Kandra, but in 4. Maybe 5. I'll put this one at 5. Hesham versus Mueller. Hesham's been okay. So, fun fact, Hesham beat Ali Farag at Nationals. Now, I don't necessarily know how that would have happened. Hesham has actually beaten Farag in Term 4. They know each other's game very well. Hesham's came close in other instances, even recently. I'm trying to remember, was it Tournament Champions where they had a 5-gamer? But, I really like Hesham's game now if he's being consistent with his play to the back, because he has such a deceptive backhand drive. So I'm going to give it to Mezen. Mueller he can sometimes come out and be the best player in the world. Sometimes he does that. And feels like nobody can beat him for a game or two. And then he just goes a little crazy and hits the tin or just plays ridiculously loose. So it's really hard. Mueller frustrates me. He can win this, but I don't see it. I can see him winning, but I'm gonna go with my own personal percentages and say that this is gonna go to Hesham in 4. Bernabeu versus Momin. Momin's just gonna run Bernabeu around. The volley drop is gonna be there's just be too much pressure. Bernabeu's gonna go to the front. Bernabeu will try to get it out. Momin follows up, and it's just going to be constant chasing. So easy 3-love for Momin. Okay. El Shirbagi versus Parker. Hopefully not too much rough stuff here. I think this should be a decently clean hitting match. Probably what will happen a lot is Parker can be exposed at the front a little too often. He does have a good counter drop when it's available, but Shirbagi's deceptive enough that you're going to see Parker coming in late to the front too often, and just that back and forth pressure that Shirbagi's good at. And Shirbagi's also good at slow balling, and if Parker wants to increase the pace, he can try, but then Shirbagi can just chip tight as anyone. So not really many options for a Parker in terms of tactics, so I'm going to give it to Shirbagi in 3. Macon versus Ibrahim could be an interesting match. I remember when Ibrahim played Paul Cole. I believe that was the Egyptian Open. He had a good game. I mean, they were fairly close. Ibrahim just, I think, mentally didn't stick with his strategy enough and went for a little too much. He is still coming back. I'm still not thinking he's going to be 100%. Knee injuries are a little bit finicky, and they can persist. So I'm a little bit worried about him physically. He has a great counter drop. So if he tactically goes into this thinking that he can win at the back, then there's a better chance. I don't necessarily think he'll do that. Despite that being he does have a path to victory. I don't see that happening against him, where basically Macon will retrieve enough. This could be a tight one though. I'm actually gonna call this 5 games to Macon, but I think this will be a 5-gamer, and then Ibrahim will just kind of fade in the 5th. But yeah, that'll be a tough one. This also goes back to my comments before that Macon tends to have issues in early round matches where he doesn't win quickly enough, and that fatigue carries over to later rounds. But anyway, that's we'll get to that later. Dasuki versus James. They haven't played since Dasuki got his knee twisted actually at Hong Kong Open. So this is I think Dasuki is going to come into this. If he's beaten Gauthier, I think he's going to come into this with a lot of confidence. And if you come in with a lot of confidence, or if this guy comes in with a lot of confidence, you have very little chance. James, you know what? He can play tight, but I think James tends to play with a little too much pace on his drives. You have to really slow ball Fares Dasuki, and I don't think Declan has that slow ball counter that Marwan has, so I'm going to give this to Dasuki in 3. Asal versus Marwan. Oh, this could be a final. This is so tough. So this one comes down to basically Marwan has been, he won his last 3 matches against Macon, Cole, and Dasuki off of that really smooth counter, counter almost like a straight lob, but it's just more of it's a slow straight drive that takes off all the pace and prevents his opponent from counterattacking, which I think was really just fantastic strategy against all those 3 players. Now with Asal, one of the problems with this match is I think Asal has the advantage on the backhand drive. So this will force Marwan to actually, I think, go for a bit more, besides going a bit more for the cross court, maybe having to be the one that instigates and attacks the front, because I don't think Marwan wants to get into a match where he's going to have to actually play out with Asal's backhand on the left-hand side. He's going to have to bring in a bit more attacking, and I think that's going to be pretty disruptive for him. I don't know if Marwan wants to do that. So he does have other shots. He does have great accuracy, but Asal's he's proven that he's one of the best physical players. He's beaten pretty much every top player except for Farag. He's beaten Shirbagi, or his other, Muhammad Al Shirbagi. I don't know if they played. He's ever played Marwan, but I just think because of that backhand advantage and the fact that it changes Marwan's normal tactic, it's going to be interesting. I feel like this will be a 5-gamer, very tight, but yeah, I'm going to give this to us all. This one will be brutal though, pretty brutal. Whoops. Okay, other half. Okay, Cole versus Crouan. Yeah, this is kind of coming back to what I had said about Crouan's match against Gauthier. Paul Cole's just, unless Crouan can vary the height and vary the pace a bit more than what he does, this could be a very physical match, don't get me wrong. Crouan does like finishing the ball, but the problem is Cole just doesn't give you much to really attack. And if Crouan can't vary the pace or vary heights on the wall, Cole's just going to constantly just volley back, and Crouan, being the smaller player, is just going to get stretched out. So I'm going to give this to Cole. I think Crouan can take a game though against Cole. I think there'll be enough of a chip on his shoulders that he'll get a game, but and he's hopefully a lot physically stronger. I've seen matches where by the 4th and 5th, Crouan just is scrambling. So it'll be a 4-gamer, a good one. I don't think this will be 100% straightforward. And similar to Macon, although a little bit less so, I think Paul Cole can make matches a bit longer than they need to be, at least for a player of his standard. All right, Salem versus Gawad. I think there was an article actually that just got posted on PSA about knowing that this matchup is probably coming. So again, Zahid has improved his game. Kareem is probably injured. I don't think he's not 100%. I think I got to give it to Salem again, and this isn't based on just their last performance, but you have to give Zahid a lot of credit. I think he's become patient enough that Gawad's going to have to go for a lot more at the front and attack more, just because I don't think physically he'll be able to get into 4th and 5th games. So as long as Salem stays solid, I think he can take out Gawad. And you can see here, this is starting to shape why I think Paul Cole has the best path to victory in this tournament. But anyway, we'll get to that. Marsh versus Kandra. Marsh. This is going to be probably, I don't know if Marsh has had too many quarterfinals, but there's a lot more accuracy with Marsh. Kandra tends to go for, when you get into longer rallies, Kandra can go for a little bit too much. He is pretty physically strong, so he can finish the ball very well, but I think Gregoire is just going to physically, his endurance is going to take this match. Probably a 4-gamer, so this will be interesting. Hesham versus Momin. Hesham can be good. I just don't think that physically, and specifically the way in which he moves, Momin's front, his volley drop is the best in the game, and it's the most consistent. Very soft, stays up short so often. I see this match as coming down to volley drop, and then volley cross court. Basically, Momin will drop, Mazen will try to cross court out and try to get out of there. Momin follow up shot will just be too much. I'm going to give this to him in 3. Whoops. There we go. All right, quarterfinal time. Shirbagi versus Macon. I really felt Shirbagi just didn't play very well in that match with Macon. Just so many errors, so much of a lack of patience, and then even at the end of the match, it was close. I think for how badly Shirbagi played, I was surprised about how close it was. This time, Shirbagi takes it. I think he still doesn't stop trying to go for the winners, but I think he gets it this time. I think he'll be a bit more consistent here, and I think you don't necessarily have to go ultra short with Macon. I think you can make him run a bit more, because he has a good counter drop, mind you, but I think if you stretch him out, then you're going to force Macon to lob out more than counter drop, but we'll see. Dasuki versus Asal. So One problem here, and I think Asal still has a bit of a young man body, so what that means is he's going to be a little bit more fatigued after this, even just this one match. I'm seeing Dasuki coming out into this fairly fresh. Funny thing is, I wonder, again, this comes back down to the backhand. Asal has a great backhand, super tight. His length is... Dasuki often has a hard time with players who can play good length. The only thing is, I think Dasuki might lull Asal into a attacking game where he doesn't necessarily... He shouldn't want to do that. We'll see. Asal's a smart guy, but I think just this time, in future matches, I'll probably give it to Asal. But I think Asal will go and play Dasuki, and he'll have to basically. So Asal won nationals, but he beat Hesham, right? I don't think he played Dasuki, so I'm going to give it to Dasuki. But this is a lot based on this being such a physical match, and just that. This is tough. I'm going to give this might be a 5-gamer, but it's going to be a shootout. I think that's what's just going to happen, is that Dasuki will make it into a shootout. And I don't think Asal will be patient enough to revert back to basic general hitting or smooth hitting. Cole versus Salem. Not necessarily the easiest match, but so I'm thinking Salem's actually going to come into this fairly physically fresh, so this could be a good match. I don't think Salem has the ability to really twist Cole enough and change the pace. He's not that type of player, and unfortunately that's what you kind of need to make Cole really stress. There is a good slice shot, like there are some shots. This isn't again a straightforward one. I'm getting it's the end of the day. I'm starting to get tired here, but I don't see Paul Cole really losing this. And coming into this part of the tournament, he's going to be hitting his stride. I give it to Cole, and I'm going to give it to him in 3. I think this will be where Cole starts to really pump the gas. Momin versus Marsh, similar players. They've actually had some tight ones before, so this isn't straightforward, but you know what? Marsh, as good as he is, he'll come into this knowing that he has nothing to lose. He'll be pretty calm. But really, Marsh is not going to have an easy time at the front. I think, again, Marsh is going to... If he wants to win this, he has to, lob out, have a, force Tarek Momin to the back a bit more, and then throw in the odd counter drops off of Tarek Momin's volley drops. But I don't know if I still don't think he has the patience for that yet, or if he ever will, really. So I'm gonna give it to Momin in probably 4. But Marsh, if you want to take this, and the thing is, even if he does go to the back a lot, it's not like Momin has a fantastic length and a great cross court off a tight shot. So there's just so few options for him. All right, Dasuki versus Shirbagi. Let me zoom out a little bit. Not easy. Dasuki's beaten Shirbagi. I'm not completely convinced that Shirbagi is... See, the difference between, say, a Marwan and Muhammad is Muhammad likes playing that fast-paced, that hard-hitting style, and he thinks he can beat other players who try it. If that's what happens, Muhammad loses. If he tries to go for a much more patient, slow-paced game, kind of what his brother does, which he's capable of, I think he can win. I feel like he goes into this a bit smarter. I think he finally takes out Dasuki, really just finishes, forces Dasuki to hit looser balls and finishes him. I just have this feeling that this is going to be I think this will be a 3. This could be a 3-love, but I'm going to give it to him in 4. I think it's pretty close. All right, Cole versus Momin. This has been a lot of back and forth. Both players have taken chunks out of each other in the past. Obviously, Momin beat Paul Cole when he was exhausted in World Champs. But Cole's taken, I think, the last one from him, but that was at the World Series Finals, which isn't always 100% indicative. This will be tight. I think this will be a 5-gamer. I'll give it to Cole, but this will gas. Whoever's coming out of this is going to be out of gas. And that's where Shirbagi's going to play Cole in the final. And because of the nature of this match, again, the shootout style, I think this will be relatively short, like 40, 45 minutes. This one is going to be like a 70-minute marathon. Cole is one of the best physical players. So because of the, like I said before, the easier path, with his matches against Salem, Cruen, Solomon, if he can win those matches relatively quickly, and I have kind of stated that they're going to be 4 gamers, which for Cole is usually 40, 45 minutes, yeah, he might... I'm very impressed by Cole's physicality. He can play multiple hard matches like this. Now, coming into a match with Shirbagi, that's tough. But Muhammad also he hasn't shown his best form. I'm kind of going to this with a lot of assumptions that he's showing a lot of great form. I wonder if this is going to be the end of the road. Maybe it will be. Tough, but I'm going to give it to Paul Cole. I think he wins his first one here. Not easy to win on Egyptian soil, but yeah, this might be Cole's first win. If he's going to win a tournament, this has to be it. This is the easiest he will ever get it. Muhammad's side of the draw is far harder. There are I don't even know how that actually came about. Like, you got Macon Dasuki, Marwan, Asal, like all in that one half. And really you got Tarek and the problem is because it's the weird seeds. Like, Rodriguez to me is overranked. Gawad is definitely, if he's injured, he's definitely overranked. And then Imoman's tricky, and don't get me wrong, but then, that's it. It's so crazy that this, the discrepancy between the two halves. So, you know what? If PSA wants you to win, this is your chance, Paul Cole. Don't blow it. Anyway, I'm running out of juice. I'm dead tired. I'm going to try to post this tonight. Might be a little tricky for me, but especially because the Oilers are playing tonight. But you know what? I'm just glad that we have a bit more squash. We're going to have a few more tournaments coming up. I'm still trying to get my logos going. I got to contact the artist who's working on that for me. But yeah, this has been great getting back into it. Definitely going to do my recap video at the end of the event. It'll be a bit longer, obviously, because we're covering both women's and men's at the same time, and hopefully they'll be both fresh in my mind. So looking forward to the squash. Hope you are too. And yeah, good night.